the hearing. I'm going to ask everybody that it is not specifically called on to please mute your phone or mute your computer so that we don't get a lot of feedback here in the chambers and stuff. So we will be calling on you when time is appropriate to provide testimony, and then you can unmute yourself and be part of the record. We are recording this meeting like we do all of our hearings and stuff. So with that, first item of business is to address items 1, 2, and 3, which is notice of public hearing to set hearing date. On item 1, 2 is various resolutions. Item 3 is agreements, grants, and contracts. And so unless any of my fellow commissioners want to take any of those items separately, chair is open to a motion to approve those 3 items.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 1, 2, and 3, and item number 4 as they appear on today's 2 p.m. consent agenda.
You can't do item number 4 because those are public hearings. We're going to take those individually. So if you could just do 1, 2, and 3, that would be great.
I'm sorry, on the consent agenda I has those listed as agreements, grants, and contracts, not as public hearings.
Right, that's what I have as well.
Okay, so you have a different one than I have. So
Hold on.
Can you please scroll down on the one that is on the screen?
So it actually,
Yep.
the public hearing item for 5A, B, and D should actually be 4A and B, D.
So where's the agreements and contracts though?
And so I will upload this real quick here once we have. Okay.
I apologize. I guess I'm confused because we have what's on what was just on the screen. Josh and I do.
Yeah.
you show that as a public hearing, right? Yeah, I show number 4 as public hearings.
We're gonna show the right one, Josh.
Just 1 second here.
Okay.
Just gotta email us.
So was there an updated one that came out that we see?
Evidently so.
This is what's on the website, so I'm sending it to you right now. Thank you.
So let me know when you have the updated agenda.
Okay. If you could just pull it up on the screen there too, on screen share, I can do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Gino's emailing it to me, Josh. It's gonna take a second longer.
No problem. Okay, Mr. Chair, I move to approve items 1, 2, and 3, including all sub items on today 2 p.m. consent agenda.
I will second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to approve items 1, 2, and 3, and all the sub items appearing thereunder. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Then moving on to item number 4, public hearings. Before we get into public hearings, I know that we've had additional people join us either by phone or by Zoom. I'm going to ask that you please mute either your phone and or your computer so that we don't get any backfeed here in the chamber. So we will, when time is appropriate, ask you to unmute if you want to speak. The first item for public hearing, and this is the first public hearing the Board of County Commissioners has had under the governor's guidelines and stuff. So bear with us as we go through this, but item number 4A is considered limited access on Gibbs Road from East Line to parcel number 44213.9051 to Sands Road, County Engineers Road File number 11S. So, Mr. Chad Coles, is there any information that you're going to share with the board?
I have no new information, Mr. Chair, but I'd be happy to go through the presentation that I shared with the board earlier.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
So bear with me while I unmute myself. So this is the limited access, as you mentioned, for Gibbs Road. Can I get the next slide, please? Gibbs Road is located in south central Spokane County, essentially halfway between Palouse Highway and Dishman-Micah, and the portion we're talking about is between the Sands and the Madison Road. So what we're talking about is that area in blue on the map that you're seeing right now, proposed for a limited access meaning that the road would be gated and keys provided to those folks that have need for them. Next slide, please. So this is just a close-up view of that area and the parcels that are directly adjacent to this. We've looked into this for quite a while, and we are recommending that this section of road, due to its condition and minimal use, not unused, but minimal use in its nature as a summer road, maintained only in the summertime, intended for essentially farm access, that we could live with this temporary closure, recommending the temporary closure, or limited access, excuse me. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Coles. Any questions for Mr. Coles before we open it up for public comment? All right, seeing nobody. So then this is a public hearing on the limited access designation. We will take public testimony. You will have up to 3 minutes to provide your comments. We will control access here in the chambers, and so I do not have a list of folks signed off because obviously you're not here to sign. So if you want to speak up. We'll ask you to give us your name and address, and then we will start the 3-minute time period. When we reach the end of 3 minutes, ask that you wrap up your comments so that we can move on to the next speaker. So is there anybody on the line that would like to provide any comment on hearing item number 4A, Gibbs Road?
Yes, I would.
Okay, your name, sir?
Dave Altmeyer, and I live on East 11109 Gibbs Road.
Okay.
And I sent in some information. I don't know if you commissioners received the pictures that I sent.
We do have, if you mailed it in, we do have it on the record.
Okay, I emailed it. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like the county to maintain Gibbs Road to my driveway. I started the process with the county over 2 years ago and had to meet several requirements, and the total amount spent is over $20,000. We want the county to plow so we can get out in the winter. I pay a lot of taxes and I want what everyone else has. When it got to approval, they noticed that the summer road is traveled on by 4x4 trucks and other vehicles. And when it's muddy, mud is dragged all over the gravel section. People try to go up the hill, they get stuck, they drag the mud all over the gravel section. This happens every time it rains. Please refer to the pictures that I sent you. I spend almost $2,000 a year to gravel to deal with this mess that is created. And I can certainly understand why the road department doesn't want to take this amount of money out of their budget every year. If a summer road isn't up to county standards to be maintained and it is around houses, it should not be used. No one who lives on this end of Gibbs Road even uses the summer road. Secondly, the bigger issue is safety. This summer road is so narrow, only one vehicle can pass through it at a time. Cars regularly travel going 50 miles per hour. It is a major safety hazard, and in light of the line of sight on the summer road section is very limited. A couple of people doing some work on that section said they stepped out of their truck and were nearly run over someone. And I know who it is because they regularly drive like that. It is the wild, wild west, and someone is going to get critically injured or worse. When I moved out here 15 years ago, it was not traveled that much. Now, there are lots of cars speeding and tearing up the road while it's being used for a few months out of the year, and someone is going to get hurt. Trust me, no one, when they bought their house, were taken by their realtor over the summer road to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we do have your letter and stuff, so just want to let you know that did get to the board. So next speaker,
Peter, I would like to speak.
okay, your name, please.
Wendy Hansen. I live at 11715 East Gibbs Road. I'm very much in support of this proposal to limit access on Gibbs Road. I've lived here since '93, and over the years, I have witnessed the speeding and complete disregard for public safety, people that use this road as a shortcut. As a property owner, I own 5 parcels that front on Gibbs Road. That's about 1,700 feet of frontage. Every day, I'm appalled by the speeding and disregard for public safety that people show when they use this section as a shortcut. The alternative, Sands Road, is a safe, wide, graveled road with excellent visibility, 35 miles per hour, that meets all the county standards. This summer, extensive work was done and money spent to improve Sands Road. Gibbs Road, the section that you're looking to limit access, has only been an agricultural road. It's designated as summer only. It's a dirt road. It does not meet any county standards. The posted speed on it, however, is 35 miles per hour. Many people use this as a shortcut to get to Madison. So when they see 35, they go 40, 45. They're in a hurry. They also know there is no room for a patrol officer as 2 cars won't fit on this road. Most of the section that you're looking to close is 11 feet wide. Absolutely no room for 2 cars or trucks to pass. The line of sight on the hill is 15 to 25 feet. The county standard line of sight is 150 feet. There will be a head-on accident. It's just a matter of time. I've almost been T-boned trying to pull out of my driveway by people flying down this road. the people that are speeding on this road in excess of 40 miles an hour, those will be the people that will be suing Spokane County for not closing a road that they knew didn't meet safety standards. Again, this road does not meet county standards, presents a huge public safety risk for all using it, as well as a major financial liability for Spokane County and taxpayers. Thank you very much for your consideration. Please limit access on this dangerous road. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so anybody else want to provide any comments on hearing item 4A, limited access for Gibbs Road?
Hello, I'd like to speak.
Yes, your name, sir?
Lyle Gates.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Gates.
Our address is 11902 East Gibbs Road. I really can't add much to the two previous speakers. I agree with their assessment. It's a very potential danger to car traveling and pedestrians. There's a number of people that like to use that for recreation, just to get out. And so we are very much in favor of that temporary or limited access. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. So anybody else want to provide any testimony on hearing item 4A? Second call for anybody who want to provide testimony.
I'd like to, if I could.
Okay, your name, please.
My name's Annette Long, and I live at 9415 South Sands Road. I did send in a email, and I'm hoping it got through, that I am not in favor of closing that road. I live on Sands Road, and people are going 50 miles an hour by our house every single day. I understand their concern about the safety on that road, but I know that that road has been there much longer than some of the folks that have talked that have lived there. And that is also farming community, and you're cutting off farmers, right? And if there's ever a emergency that an evacuation has to be made, then that can bottleneck things. So I am not in favor of it.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Long. Okay, so third and final call for anybody who want to provide testimony on hearing item 4A.
I'd like to
Yes,
speak.
I'd like to speak.
Okay, go ahead. Your name?
Okay, I will go for it. My name is Robin Cole. I live at 11501 South Bruna Road, bordered on the north by Gibbs. I'm opposed to this being closed. I've noticed that people speed on any of these roads regardless. It'd be hard pressed in my car to go 55 on that road. And I understand it has blind hills, but it does make for easy access. And it's a straight shot to Madison. I think it gives me a few more options. And given the fact that this is a growing area and we've had people that have moved out there in the last 15 years, if anything, we probably need more access and a few more roads, maybe possibly even maintained by the county. So with that, I will leave it. I just want to preserve the roads we have and the access to them. Thank you.
Thank you. So I believe there's one other speaker that would like to provide testimony. Could you speak up now?
Yes, Sue Kronk.
Your name again?
Sue Kronk, C-R-O-N-K. I too sent in a letter, 9426 East Excelsior. We are one of the farmers that use the road for access and have done so for quite a while. Property along that road is what we use to move our equipment. If we don't have that access,
we will be forced to use Palouse Highway. Like Mr. Cole, I'm sure there are some people that do speed on Gibbs Road. The conditions have to be, right to do that. Otherwise, it is not a 55-mile-an-hour traversed road unless the road is hard. And for us to move our equipment on Palouse Highway, we feel is a much greater danger than moving it on Gibbs Road. We do use it during the growing and harvest and seeding season. While we appreciate Mr. Altmeier's concern, and I do appreciate the concern of the neighbors that live along that route, when we have crops that are not able to sustain travel within the crop itself, so in other words, if it's a grass field, if it is in grass, we can use that as an alternative, but only when the ground is hard, which would be not very many weeks during the year. If it is in a rotation crop or fallowed, that is not going to be accessible. So we appreciate your consideration. We would like to continue to use this road. I also have concerns about fire access. You should have received an electronic letter from me, as well as my husband, Jay Kronk. We have used that road for fire access as well, as we were both on the fire department. And we are concerned about the availability of people to move livestock and their real property should they need to evacuate. Thank you, and please consider leaving this road open. I am sorry that there are 4x4s and people that use it during the mud times. This is not the only summer road in the Valley Forge area that is utilized that way. And if we are vigilant and attentive to our neighbors and the people that are using it in that fashion, I know for ourselves, we do try to contact them and let them know that this is, poses a disservice to everyone in the community that is using the road properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, last call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on hearing item 4A, which is limited access on Gibbs Road. Anybody else out there that would like to provide testimony? Okay, hearing nobody come forward, I'm going to close the hearing on 4A and look to my fellow commissioners for any questions or what would be your desire? Ms. Tony.
I have a couple of questions for Mr. Coles. So speaking of the farm access, so people like that will have the opportunity to get a key from you to be able to access that for farm purposes, correct?
Certainly, yeah. The temporary road closure will have a gate with a lock on it. Keys will be provided for anybody who has a legitimate use of the road, public transportation use of the road.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Kearns.
Mr. Coles, can you address the concern with fire access?
I also will reach out to the fire district and provide them with a key. And also folks that live along the road, obviously, will have keys so those folks can get in and out. Yeah, I guess that's all I have into that.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, what would be the desire of the board?
I have one more question. And so this is a temporary road closure. So I mean, it's a gate. It's something that if determined in the future needed to be undone, we could undo that. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. All it would take is an action of the board. So I can imagine that happening by folks reaching out and letting us know what the issues are, bring that to the board, and you folks have another shot at it.
Okay. Because I've actually been out there at that road, and the summer road part of it is not very good, and stable and all of that. And that my understanding as a commissioner is that it's really for farm access is what those summer roads are for, is to provide that for the farming community. And so I know it definitely is not up to any type of county road standards, and isn't something that, you know, we want people driving on. And those summer roads, correct me if I'm wrong, are pretty much for farming and not for, you know, intended to be public access. Is that correct?
The original intent and use of summer maintained roads is to provide farm access.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Mr. Kearns?
Taking public comments?
No, public comments have been closed. I asked 3 times and nobody weighed in, so it's now.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I came a little late.
Action. Okay, Mr. Kearns.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the recommendation of the county engineer and approve item number 4A as presented by staff.
And I will second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second to accept the county road engineer's recommendation with regard to limited access on Gibbs Road. Any discussion on the motion? Ms. Cooney?
Yeah, I think I'll just reiterate that, you know, it's my understanding with it being a summer road that it is for limited use for farm equipment, that having been out there and seen the road, it's not in great shape, you know, for anything other than that. And that this is just a temporary closure, and that's the recommendation that's before us. And that, you know, I think based on that, you know, being a temporary closure, and I'm going to be in favor of it.
Okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Then moving on to hearing item 4B. This is in the matter of adopting the 2021 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget. And so who will be doing the presentation on this? Is that you, Mr. Coles?
I will start. I'd love it if Colleen Little could be promoted to a presenter. Are you there?
Yeah.
Would you like? There we go. Would you folks like to see the presentation?
Yeah, go ahead and give us the quick presentation.
Colleen's the person.
Yes, and I apologize for my background. I was playing around with that. It's a picture of me and my daughter. Well, good afternoon, Commissioner and commissioners. So since our briefing a couple weeks ago, nothing's changed. So I'm going to walk you through from the beginning here. Minimize this on my screen so I can see. There we go. So first slide, please. All right, just some key or summary highlights of the 2021 budget. The advisory board had requested that if at all possible to minimize or not increase the assessment fees for the public due to financial concerns to do with COVID, and so that I was able to accomplish that. Part of the reason for being able to do that this year was we don't have any major equipment maintenance, repair, or replacement due to the generosity of the state capital improvement grant that we received to do capital improvements at the lake, which we are underway with our consultant right now. Some other key items in the budget to note is that the labor for 2021, which is often a give and take with the community, is 5.5% lower than 2020. I took a very careful look at our actuals for 2019 and 2020, and we've just been very productive telecommuting, and I felt that was something that we could manage for this year. There is, let's see, the budget looks like it's quite large with a $627,000 total expenditures and income, but that is a plus minus basically with the capital projects that will be ongoing in 2021. So costs are offset by what our anticipated reimbursement, which will be from Department of Commerce, who is managing that contract. We have a couple of one-time costs this year, nothing out of the ordinary or super expensive, but one-time easement costs with Department of Natural Resources for an easement to operate and maintain the in-lake equipment. A little less alum is proposed for water quality treatment in the lake this year, but I do anticipate that about mid-year during an actuals comparison analysis, we ought to be able to get ourselves back up to the 10 or 11 tanks that we are accustomed to. We do have the anticipated cost for 2021 of the Board of Appraisers, which is offset by the $30,000 loan that was adopted by resolution in December of 2018 to the district. So we're proceeding with that with interest for 2021, hoping to get the remapping done this year. And we are done with Department of Ecology's gracious benefit of grant awards for milfoil treatment at New York. We have to find a way to manage over the next few years without their funds. We only have about $4,000 left in the grant. 21. So that's pretty much it for all the high points in the budget, differences, similarities between the last couple of years and moving forward. If anyone has any questions.
Any questions, either Commissioner Cooney or Kearns? Okay, so we will, this is a public hearing, so I'll open up the hearing to anybody in the audience who'd like to provide any testimony on hearing item 4B, which is the 2021 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District Budget. I believe we do have one caller, Karen Steuben, I believe.
Karen
or
Stebbins. And,
Stebbins, okay.
Her husband would like to give his 3 minutes to her as well.
Okay, so Karen Stebbins, are you there?
I'm putting her in.
Okay, Karen, if you can unmute yourself, we'd go ahead and start with your testimony.
Perfect. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Just want to say, I don't know what I have to do, but do I have to give my address? You guys know who I am, where I live, but I'm the chair of the advisory board. And I just wanted to speak today. We've had a busy year. Again, this advisory board is very active. We've met every month since January. We actually have a full board for the first time since I've been involved, 8 members. They're all very diverse and very opinionated, as you know and have heard over the year. But the one thing we do have in common is that they all love Newman Lake and they want to leave it better for their kids and their grandkids. So that's the common theme that pulls us through. And I wanted to talk about budget first because that's really why we're here. And I do want to say, I mean, everything is really positive, but from a budget perspective, the entire advisory board is disappointed we didn't receive the budget until September 8th, 5 working days prior to the fall public open house. And that gave us 1 day to meet prior to the fall open house to talk about the budget. We've been requesting to speak about the budget since spring, and there was no time to do anything other than just to give a unanimous request to maintain last year's assessments because of potential economic impacts due to COVID for our Newman Lake residents. Yes, the man hours were reduced and assessments weren't increased, but there was 0 time for the advisory board to present the budget to our community. And as the advisory board, we really view this as a fiduciary responsibility to our community. And I've already talked to Colleen about this because the last 2 years it's been the same way for various reasons, but we're going to both try to make that an earlier adoption or an earlier presentation to the advisory board for next year. But that's all I have to say about the budget. And I'd like to talk about the positive things and other things that are going on at Newman Lake, because there are so many positive things happening. And the advisory board and I both appreciate the communication between Chad, Colleen, Dawson, and Malcolm, listening to the advisory board on our projects, our ideas, and all the different things that are happening at Newman Lake. It's been a real positive experience of give and take of information. One of the projects came from a advisory board member, Leanne Gould. She wanted to start a community education and outreach program to let the residents know at Newman Lake, are there individual things that they could do to impact the lake and improve the water quality? That idea has turned into a new program called Love Newman Lake. And if I were there in person, I would give you a bumper sticker and a magnet, because we're just trying to educate the community on, it's not just the county doing this, it's everyone in this together, and we can help make an impact on the water quality. We had a soft launch this fall. We're going to go, and everybody is back. And out of this program, the Spokane Conservation District helped fund us with purchasing materials, and they are implementing a more detailed program called Lake Care Okayed, which a volunteer will come out to a resident's house at their request and do an audit of their property and tell them different ways that they can help mitigate impacts on the water quality at Newman Lake. And that relationship also turned into another relationship with the Lands Council, another partner who's designated Newman Lake as an area, a new area in their operating charter. And they have a grant in process to come out to our community next year and do different types of shoreline plantings and education on how we can mitigate the erosion that is happening on our shores. So this is, if you'll start seeing Love Newman Lake yard signs and different things, that's what one of the programs that an advisory board member has started. Another project that we're really excited about is the Beaver Dam analogs, the project at the north end of the lake at Thompson Creek to reduce the phosphorus load at Thompson Creek. And that all started with a brainstorming session between two advisory board members and Dawson, one of the Newman Lake engineers, trying to figure out a low-cost way that we can impact water quality. And it's happened. That happened in January. We had Gonzaga and the Lands Council out on the property owner's property 2 weeks ago. And we have Colleen and Dawson as advisors. So we're really excited about that project happening and the monitoring of the phosphorus levels at Newman Lake. Then there's our capital budget, like Colleen mentioned, with Jacobs Engineering starting this year. We hope that Jacobs and the county, we can assess our current system and we're able to fix our equipment and bring the operations into a clear, decisive outcome that will improve our water quality. And we're actually going to have a diver in the water looking at our airship. How exciting is that? I get excited over strange things. Also, we've got the Spokane Conservation District working on a wave water quality, septic, and erosion study. They put together a survey that just ended Sunday with the assistance of one of our advisory board members. Polly Phipps is a nationally experienced on surveying, put it together. They've received over 275 survey responses talking about waves, water quality, septic, and erosion. Very important hot topics at Newman Lake. And I want to thank you for funding the wave portion of the study for the wakeboard and surfboard boats. We look forward to Spokane Conservation giving you those findings and hope that we can all come to a solution on the erosion and damage that's occurring to our property, our docks, our boats, creating really unsafe conditions that many of the community members believe is occurring because of the wakeboard and surfboard boats. And then we're also really excited about the Honeymoon Bay project done by Spokane Conservation, another way to mitigate water quality issues at Newman Lake. They're submitting a grant to expand that and also working with Moab to do a feasibility study to potentially be a monitoring and doing the maintenance on these new systems, septic systems. So there's tons of positive, amazing projects and tons of agencies and different people working together to improve water quality at Newman Lake. So I'd ask your support of the budget and also support of all these other projects that are occurring and to keep yourself knowledgeable about what's happening at Newman Lake, because we really appreciate the help and the effort and the budget that you put behind Newman Lake. And that's all I have. So thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you for your testimony. Appreciate it, Ms. Stebbins. Appreciate all your work you're doing out at the lake, as well as the other members of the advisory council.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that would like to provide any testimony on the Newman Lake 2021 flood control zone district budget? Third and final call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Hearing nobody speak up, I'm going to close the testimony on hearing item B and look to my fellow commissioners for direction. Commissioner Kearns.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item 4B in the matter of adopting the 2021 Newman Lake Flood Control District budget.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second to approve the 2021 Newman Lake Flood Control Zone District budget. Any discussion on the motion? See none.
Right.
Yes,
I just want to echo what you said, Commissioner French, and a big thank you to everybody that's part of the Newman Lake community, and especially the Newman Lake AB board. I know that they put in a lot of hours. They have a lot. They care a great deal about that lake, and I just want to thank everybody that's part of the community out there in the AB board. They're a huge asset, and they help us out a lot in adopting this budget every year.
Thank you, Commissioner Kearns. With that then, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Aye. Let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. That moves us on to hearing item 4C, which is in the matter of adoption of the 2021-2026 six-year transportation improvement program, including the six-year urban area construction program, the six-year rural area construction program, the 2021 annual construction program, the 2021 arterial preservation program, and the 2021 equipment project purchase list. And I'm assuming this is yours, Mr. Coles.
Yes, unless Mr. Zerber, I'd love to have him. He did all the heavy lifting. If he's out there and able to speak, I'll let him carry the torch. If not, I can torch away.
Let me promote him to panelist real quick.
That was a lot of things in one hearing item, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm winded just listing it.
Oh, here he is. All right, he's way handsomer and smarter than I am.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you about the six-year plan at the public hearing. Do we have that presentation available? Thanks, Jared. All right. So this is our 2021 through 2026 six-year transportation improvement plan, and along with our 2021 annual construction program. And this is the summary for 2021 only by type of construction project. And you can see we're spending about 14.6 million on urban roadway construction, 8.6 on rural roadway, about 600,000 on a pathway project. And we have a couple of railroad grants that we have, and along with our other safety projects for about 3.5 million. And we have bridge projects in the amount of 2.7 and stormwater for 129,000 for a total program of just over 30 million in capital projects. Next slide, please. The major projects for this coming year are Bigelow Gulch Corridor Project 3. That's the portion west of Argonne Road over to Wiley. Our cost estimate for that's the 5.9 million. The other project is our Geiger Boulevard Phase 2. That's an ongoing carryover project from this year. That's between Soda Road and Grove Road. And it's beyond an estimated cost now. We've awarded it, so 3.5 million. And then in terms of reconstruction projects, we have 3 projects going on. We have Chatteroy Road, Columbia Drive up on Northwood, and Belterre. And those combined are $2.4 million. And next slide. And that's our summary. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions for Mr. Ziricor? Either Commissioner Kearns or Commissioner Cooney, you good? All right, thank you, Mr. Ziricor. So this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open up.
Copy, May 11th. This was done at the courthouse.
Excuse me, Mr. Gimmel. Mr. Gimmel, you got to mute yourself. Mute. Mute. Mr. Gimmel, please mute. There you go. Thank you. Coming to you directly from Chatteroy. Okay. This is a public hearing item, and so if there's anybody in the audience like to provide any testimony on hearing item number 4C, please speak up so we can take your testimony. Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony on hearing item 4C. Third and final call. Seeing nobody want to speak up on this, I'll close the hearing and look to my fellow commissioners for direction.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve public hearing item number 4C in the matter of adopting the 2021 to 2026 six-year transportation improvement program.
I will second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve hearing item 4C as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, let the record reflect the motion passed unanimously. Thank you. That then brings us to our public roundtable budget hearing. And this is the beginning, the first hearing in a series of three that the Board of County Commissioners will be presenting to the public so that you can see the process of how your taxpayer dollars are being spent here at the county, and also provide testimony at the appropriate time for your input. And again, you feel free to submit written comments to either the Board of County Commissioners or to our budget officer, Mr. Gary Petrovich. So I will start off by introducing our new Chief Budget Officer, Mr. Gary Petrovich, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner French. I also have my budget staff here in attendance, Tony, Jason, and Tessa, who've been an immense help to me in preparing this tabulation and the roll-up for this budget workshop number 1. So if Gina could put up the presentation slides, actually the second one, I'll go ahead and start when that's ready.
The PowerPoint?
Yes, please. So if you'll go to that second slide, Ron. So what I hope to cover in this roundtable is this agenda, which lists starting out with a recap of all funds and our proposed expenditure budgets for the 2021 year. Next on the list is a recap of our general fund revenues and expenditures that were submitted by the departments for 2021. Next on the list is an explanation of our approach and our budget methodology. Also on the list would be differences, just to highlight some differences between city and county budgets. The 5th bullet point, next steps to balance the general fund budget. Those are suggestions from the budget office. And then the last slide will be upcoming roundtable dates and contact information. And please note that all of these numbers and amounts presented for the 2021 budget are preliminary and subject to change. Thank you. So here is a slide showing a recap of the submitted budgets for our general fund. special revenue funds, capital, debt service, enterprise, internal service funds. In total, Spokane County has 67 funds totaling $658 million. Last year's adopted budget was about the same, about 661.5 million. So this just gives you a general reference to the nature and the makeup of the funds within Spokane County. You want to go to the next slide? This slide breaks down our general fund revenues. In this year, the submission or the estimate of our revenues for the general fund comes in at about $191 million. And as you can see, that most of the revenue projected is coming from both property tax and sales and use tax, which is about 60%. The rest is made up of other sources, charges for services, the next largest category, and then you can see the rest of the pie on how it's divided. And on the right-hand side, you can just see some examples of what is under each of those categories. Intergovernmental includes state and federal grants and state distributions. Charges for services are primarily users' fees and contracted services. And again, these are preliminary numbers with preliminary estimates for revenue projections in the general fund. Ron, if you want to go to the next slide. On the other side of the coin are submitted general fund expenditures. And here we have expenditures listed of about $202.5 million. And as illustrated in this pie chart, you can see that the majority of these expenditures pertain to law enforcement. And law enforcement includes both the sheriff, the jail, and the juvenile services. And then we move on to the justice system and courts, other elected officials, departments, and then miscellaneous. And there's a plethora of miscellaneous departments. All in all, there's in the general fund about 48, 49 departments. So you can see that out of the gate in this initial tabulation, we're looking at an about $11 million deficit between estimated revenues at this point and estimated expenditures. So if you'll go to the next slide. So how we arrived and how we started crafting this budget is we started out by looking at positional budgeting, which is personnel costs. And we did so at a moment in time in July, and then we estimated for each department what their personnel costs would be, including an estimate of the benefits. Next, we reviewed and estimated general property tax and sales tax revenues. The county departments were inputting their 2021 budget proposals into a new software that the county purchased and installed last year. And the name of that software is Questica. And Questica operates as an overlay and an interface with the accounting system that's currently in place here called PeopleSoft. So this is our initial utilization of the budget, and as such, there were some things that we had to reconcile and tweak to get to this point. And that's why we're just starting on this tabulation process this week to be able to present the numbers. And lastly, what we do is we not only tabulate these budgets for the presentation to the BOCC for their review, but we also take a studied look at it to see if anything is out of balance and that doesn't make any sense, and how they're grouped in and what fund they're presented. We also approach this year's budget maybe different than past year's budgets in that we allowed the departments to submit their own budgets out of the gate without giving them specific target figures. And this in my estimation, allows the departments to take real ownership of their budgets and then to be able to withstand scrutiny of their budgets for why they need to expend the monies that they do. Next slide, Ron. This slide just highlights the various differences between city and county budgets. I know that a lot of people look at how cities set their budget, and there's a lot of public interest in city budgets. County budgets are a little bit different than city budgets. Counties were initially formed to provide court services and roads. And we are truly acting in a lot of capacities, the agency as an agent for the state of Washington. Unlike cities, we have limited revenue sources, and those are dictated by the formation of the government process in the state of Washington. And cities, for example, have the ability to have more revenue sources than counties do. So typically you'll see their flexibility with their revenues and how they can adjust, having more latitude than counties do per se. Another thing that county governments have to take into account is that we are responsible for many state mandated programs. And many of these programs are either unfunded or significantly underfunded. So that's what creates a process by which we have to first budget those mandated requirements for the state, which basically leaves less money available for the latitude of spending for the county officials. Lastly, of course, just to reiterate, counties are comprised of several independent and separately elected officials. So we do have to deal with this initial budget deficit, and we're looking at programs and how we are going to do that. I would suggest to the board that I be given these next 2 weeks before the next budget roundtable to meet with the various departments to discuss their funding requests and to analyze their budget and why they submitted what they did. Next, I'd like to take into account what we'll have for a voluntary early retirement program that was initiated and put into effect by the commissioners this year, because those effects will have an ongoing effect, I believe, on our not only our 21 budget, but 21, 22, and 23. And lastly, we'll take another closer look at our revenue assumptions because we will be able to sensitize what factors drive those numbers. And I hope that we'll get to a point where we're getting very close before we get to our third budget roundtable. And speaking of that, the last slide details the dates of the roundtables. The next roundtable will be, like I said, in 2 weeks, Tuesday, October 27th. The third roundtable will be November 10th, Tuesday. We'll also have hearing on the 2021 property tax on November 30th. And we hope to have and adopt our 2021 budget at a December 7th hearing. Lastly, I've included a contact information for a website where we will post not only these slides, but the tabulations in some worksheets and spreadsheets that are now available to the public and to the board. And again, if there are any questions, please email me at that address at the budget office, SpokaneCounty.org.
Okay. So with that, any questions for either Commissioner Cooney or Kearns or budget officer? Okay, so this is a public hearing, so I'm going to open it up.
Commissioner French, I believe Commissioner Cooney did have a question. She raised her
I was
hand.
trying to raise my hand. That's okay. So Gary, again, just because the slides went pretty quickly, so what's the deficit right now?
In the general fund, Commissioner Cooney, it's approximately 11.6 million.
And then you'll be going back to the departments, because this is kind of the first discussion of that, to work through where those items are. And do we know how much was like over, I mean, I guess you'll be working with the departments to figure out, you know, how much they're asking for over last year versus looking at where we need to make additional looks to see where we can tighten things up.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
So for those that are viewing, the one thing that I can interject at this point is that by state statute, we are required to end the year with a balanced budget. And so there will be some tightening. It is not unusual to have that first blush be kind of the wish list for all of the departments to say, here's what we would like, not what we need. And the budget process whittles that want list down to a need list, and then make sure that we are aligned from a revenue to expense standpoint, so that when we adopt the budget in December, it will be balanced and stuff. So just a general kind of an overview of the process. So again, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to provide any comment or testimony as it relates to the 2021 budget presentation? Second call for anybody wanting to provide testimony. Third and final call. Hearing nobody speak up to say that they would like to provide testimony, I will close the hearing on our first public roundtable budget hearing for adopting the 2021 budget. And that then completes all the matters coming before the Board of County Commissioners in our published agenda. We will now move into our work session where we have a couple items to address. One is Kevin Cook, and is going to do a briefing on Spokane County 8.03A amendment for the 2020, the 10/20/2020 consent agenda. Mr. Cook, are you there? Stella, I see that you're on. Are you going to carry this presentation?
There I am.
Oh, there you are. Okay, Mr. Cook, you're on.
I found the button. Well, thank you, Commissioners. Stella A. Rowley and Rob Lindsay are both with me here today to give you a short briefing on the matter that we'll be bringing to public hearing next week. And Stella, as you know, is the pretreatment engineer. Rob Lindsay is the water programs manager. And we're here to give you a short presentation and answer any questions you might have about this. And so every so often, we need to update our Chapter 8.03A of the code. And this is the part of the code that addresses all of the pretreatment, the industrial pretreatment requirements for certain customers within the county. At this time, we have 8 permits for industrial pretreatment. These are industries that have a strong waste or a waste that needs to be controlled in a certain way. And their permits are updated on a 5-year cycle. And there's basically 3 main reasons that we need to update this part of the code. Firstly, we need to revise the local limits. Sometimes the limits on certain substances need to become more stringent. We also need to incorporate language from the latest version of the EPA's pretreatment ordinance. And we have to, of course, see about certain administrative changes that we need to see to. And there's always the typographical errors that need to be cleaned up. So in any event, I'm going to turn it over at this point to Stella. She's going to take you through kind of a high-level view of what we're changing. And then when we talk about the fee structure, she'll be turning the talking stick back over to me. So Stella?
Yes. Hi, Commissioners. I'm Stella Matei-Rowley, the pretreatment engineer with Spokane County Environmental Services. Thank you for the opportunity to brief the board today regarding our proposed amendments. Just checking, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, okay. A summary of our proposed amendments is as follows. Revised local limits. Local limits are the maximum allowable concentration of pollutants that industries can discharge to the county sewer system. And also, Spokane County has an industrial pretreatment agreement with City of Spokane because we have the county and city has adopted this agreement because county owns and uses capacity in the city's water reclamation facility. So because of this agreement, we want to adopt local limits, we have to adopt the most stringent local limits of the two jurisdictions. City of Spokane adopted their new local limits effective January 26, 2020. And some are more stringent than the current county's local limits. So, for instance, now the new local limits will be out of 15 pollutants, 9 of them are more stringent, and specifically arsenic and copper are really have low concentration. So because of that, too, Spokane County had issues 8 wastewater discharge permits to 8 businesses, and two of these permit holders have to modify their wastewater pretreatment system to comply with the new local limits. And currently they are in the process of upgrading their systems. As part of the administrative changes, we have to incorporate language in the pretreatment ordinance from the most recent EPA Region 10 model ordinance to include new language that adds more clarity to the code, and also we need to. Because of that, we need to introduce two new sections, Section 8.03A 1106, contractor listing, and Section 8.03A 1403, conflicts. And I want to mention that the current ordinance, it's based on the 2008 EPA model ordinance. Also, another section that we have introduced, or we are proposing to introduce in the code, it's Section 8.03A 0200 Industrial User Surveys that provides solidifies the county's authority in this process, and also mentions which are the specific steps that the county takes in this activity. New language has been added to Section 8.03A 0201B, specific prohibitions, to include new prohibited discharges due to new EPA regulations. And that brings me to the revised permit fees in Section 8.03A 1401, pretreatment fees for equitable cost recovery. Permit application fees are revised from a flat fee of $500 to $1,500 for the first 25 hours of staff time to process these applications. And the time in excess of the first 24 hours is charged at $60 per hour to a maximum of $4,000 per permit. Permit renewal application fees revised from a flat fee of $250 to $900 for the first 15 hours of staff time, and the time in excess of the 15 hours is charged to $60 per hour to up to a maximum of $2,000 per permit reissued. The permit fees have not been revised in 11 years. And also I want to mention that these permit fees are not issued annually. The permit is issued for 5 years. So therefore every 5 years, these fees are reissued. And then throughout the code, we have proposed some minor edits for clarification and correct typographical errors. And that's kind of sums up my briefing on pretreatment amendments for the pretreatment code.
Okay, any questions for Stella? I've got a couple. Are there any of our existing dischargers that are not going to be able to meet the new standards?
Oh, yes. Yes, they are. All but two. Two of them, they have, and like I mentioned, they are in the process of upgrading their pretreatment system, and the rest, they're confident that there will be no issues. They will be able to meet the new local limits.
And the two that are undergoing upgrades, they're confident that they'll be able to meet the new standards as well?
Yes, that's one of them already tested, and they submitted to us the new results, and it looks good.
Okay, and then from an historical standpoint, have you had an applicant that's exceeded the allowable time in terms of staff-supported engineering?
Say that again. They exceeded what? I didn't hear.
So have you had an applicant that has submitted an application and required technical assistance from the county, and that technical assistance exceeded the allowable limit that you've established?
Oh, for fees?
Yes.
You mean?
I would make a clarification.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, the fees here identified for the application fee for processing the application, that is separate from certain activities that may have to take place subsequent to the issuance of the permit. There are also provisions within the code for charges at $60 an hour for peripheral services, if you will, additional services that are required to on more of a monitoring or remedial basis. So the fees that are identified here in this paragraph really are set up to address the application process. And the old flat fee that we had, the drawback to the $500 flat fee was that some of these are quite complex and some of them are not. And so it's sort of a matter of equity to get a bracket, if you will.
Yeah, so my concern, Kevin, was that by establishing a cap or a limit on the upper limit in terms of the amount of fees that can be charged. I wanted to make sure that you weren't providing services that exceeded that cap that created an unnecessary burden on the system because you're providing more assistance than the cap would allow.
I see. And we selected this bracket, the $4,000, for example. That covers sort of the upper end of the scale in terms of processing the application itself. So we were trying to create a bracket from the 1,500 to the 4,000 for a application fee range based upon actual experience in terms of the number of hours that have been required.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Any other questions for either Stella or Kevin? It looks like we're good, sir. Thank you for the update.
Very good. We'll have the hearing next Tuesday around this time.
All right, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
That gets us to miscellaneous matters. Josh or Mary, any miscellaneous matters you'd like to bring up at this time?
No, I don't have anything today.
Mary?
Right.
Okay, second call for it. No, I'm just kidding. On a roll. Jerry, do you have anything for us?
I do not, thank you.
No, seriously.
I know, it's a shocking thing. I actually have nothing on miscellaneous.
Holy cow.
I know, mark this down.
It's starting to fail. So
mark this down.
Yeah, so on October 13th. All right, so that completes all the business coming before the board. It is now 3:17 and we are adjourned. Stay safe.